I think as adults, we don't value or take time for play. We deem it as something that children do, and we see the value in having a child play because we can see how they're mimicking what we're doing or learning social skills and a variety of things like that. But we often overlook the importance of our own need to play and to make and create things. The maker movement is a great example of giving yourself liberty to try something new and follow just trails of interestingness. I think that's something that we often as adults feel like we have to have some sort of outcome or we need to have this be completely related to the work that we're doing, and we don't always know where good ideas are going to come from or where how this might relate to our work, but usually play leads us somewhere, and it might be some sort of subconscious need that we're following, or it might just be fun. So I think that if you think about our well-being in general, we do have a very primal need to play and to have fun and have joy in our lives. So it's important, and I think it's something that we need to practice and make time for.
I think though, I think it's a healing thing. I think it heals us and it allows us to um, see ourselves and other people in different ways, and it helps us get in touch with kind of the flow of life.
And work with each other. I think play is a good. Well, you can play by yourself. I mean, there's individual, but there's also group. I just remember as a child we did a lot of imaginative play, cops and robbers and spies and pirates and things like that, and it was a lot about role play, and through role play working, I don't know, a lot of it was imagination, to be honest. It was imagination, but it was also physical. But we would do a lot of play. We would make nettle tea. It was experimentation.
Yeah, I think play is something that creates possibility. And when I play with my son, we're creating some possibilities that are new and interesting and factor into how we want to see the world or be in the world. And so it has its own sense of personal kind of transformation in it, as well as a lightheartedness in it that I think can help people reach into areas of life to make them more plausible and to make them more enriching and fun.
What do you think is the reason that we selected play in as a module and really wanted to emphasize its importance in the creative act, and especially for teachers to encourage them to bring creativity in their classroom?
Well, I think that it's very difficult for teachers to play because school is supposed to be serious and learning is supposed to be serious. And I think we've been taught that school is something separate from fun and play. I think that teachers are, for the most part, rule followers. I think they follow the rules, and they have a lot of rules that they've been given to follow in terms of the curriculum. They're told what to teach, where to teach, how to teach. So it's hard for them to. I think deeply they want to get out of that, but it's hard for them to do it because the system is telling them what to do. They're kind of cogs in the wheel. They're part of a system. And within the system, it's very difficult to start a change when everything around you is the same. It's following the same rules. So.
Well, and part of that is a trap too, because by definition, play is voluntary. It's something that comes from inside of you, and you are voluntarily partaking in whatever situation is at hand. So if you're being told what to do, then it's not voluntary. So it kind of takes some of the play out of it. And because there are so many other external kinds of accountability measures, that those are the things that become important. So when it comes to play, this is something like it can't be measured, so kind of put that out of the picture at school. Play is detracting from some of these other very purposeful things we need to do, so it gets deprioritized. Somehow now we have to take play seriously, oddly enough. It's kind of the oxymoron.
I think he was a superintendent of the New York City schools, or he's the chancellor of New York City schools, Joe Klein. So that I can always tell a good teacher, because I can tell if I look to see if the kids are smiling. And that's one of the things that in our data-driven age, we forget to notice if kids are having a good experience, if they're happy, if they're like learning is a joyful thing for them. And so I think that it's important when we talk about 21st century skills like creativity and innovation, and we want to have all of these, we want young people to be able to invent things and be innovators, but then we don't allow time for them to play and imagine and explore, and that's a critical component of those things.
I love that idea, Melissa, and it was funny because my question was going to be, based on what Tracy just said, is if play is actually learning, how do we bring it into the classroom? And how do we bring play, which is supposed to be random and fun, how do we allow in our very structured classroom, how do we allow for that unstructured time? And yet, because teachers are mostly control freaks, how do we allow for the lack of control? Because, oh my God, what happens? We lose control of our classroom. So what does that look like? How do we, Tracy, I loved your word, it was oxymoron. How do we balance the need to have play, to bring it into our classrooms, to allow kids to smile and measure that, and yet still have an environment that can be considered a learning environment? Does it mean that we have to let go as well?
Whatever that word is, we're going to like trade in words like control for taking in words and situations like inspired, engaged, compelling, desire, being in the really just an attractive force to whatever is going on. And then also we're not talking about control anymore. So some of our language about what needs to happen in the classroom, while we need to have it not be a free-for-all in the classroom, that doesn't mean, and by saying that I mean we need to have control in the classroom, then we have to be careful about what it is we think that means.
I see it as a freedom in many ways. It's a freedom to think beyond the constraints that are put on you, and if we want to cultivate young thinkers that are imaginative and solve all kinds of problems, we have to help build their imaginations and provide them with fun and interesting and engaging experiences. And part of that is just getting out of the daily constraints of the mechanics of life and get to a place that's wild and interesting, the wild mind that Jack talked about.
What do you want people to experience this week as they play?
I didn't want to talk over anybody. I would love to see an increased sense of self-awareness around the word play. What does play mean to me, and why is it important? And then how can I have, even if it's a tiny little thing, how can I have some kind of daily practice around play? Not expecting someone to be perfectly, playing for 20 minutes every single day, but maybe a couple of times they remember as they walk in the classroom, I can do this for 10 minutes. Or I can, and have whatever that means to me, I can make some time and space for that.
And taking that a step further, I would say, how can simple things be imbued with play? So on a daily basis, simple things as a teacher or as a human being that can be imbued with play, whether it's walking down the street, getting in the car, cooking a meal, what have you. How can we approach learning or anything in a playful way?
Yeah, I like that, Maureen. I want people to be able to let go. I want people to be consciously aware, and step back and say, moment, because you can. You just have to make yourself a little bit aware, and it means stopping and saying, "Whoa, this is a perfect opportunity. Let's do it. Come on, let's go for it."
So it's important in a variety of ways, like for our well-being, for our emotional well-being, for our physical well-being, and for our intellectual well-being too. We need that respite. We need that time to just relax and go to a space that's make-believe sometimes.
Yeah, the incubating space.
Tracy, do you have any
Yeah.
closing thoughts for us?
Laughing is always good, and I think Jack had it right, getting wild, getting that wild look in your eyes, because you know that when you kind of start to move to some wild new thing, it's probably a good thing.